Hey everyone, sorry for the late link. I kind of forgot to put it out there and just remembered right at the last moment. Let me go ahead and put up the link to get in. Hi, Catherine and Mike and Brian and Matt and Christine. Let me go ahead and get in here. All right, there's the link. It's up. I was on another beach chat there listening about queens, which was pretty good. Wasn't had different ideas about things. I think Mark Miller would enjoy that. There was a couple questions I'd have to ask him to see what he agreed or not. But hopefully everybody's doing good here in Maryland. It's still a little bit on the dry side. We have gotten some rain, not much, but the humidity is down over the weekend. Hey, JW. And all that hay house acre. Richard, Tetrone, Mike. So anybody wants to come in, come on in. There's the link. You can click on. Things have been pretty good in the apiary this year. The last video I put out was talking about there's Mr. Bob. He's back from Florida.
Hey, just got back actually about an hour ago.
Really?
Yeah, we drove all day today, so it was a long 500 miles. So from our house to their house.
Is that right? From your house down there?
It's about the same amount of hours to get there as it is to get to your place from here.
Well, how far is it down from your house to Florida line?
Probably 200 miles, maybe. It's not that far to get to the northern border, but you're going down by, on the other side of Orlando and
Tampa, right? So, you're going to Tampa?
Yeah, we went to Tampa, and then they ended up getting a place in, I think it's called Riverview, is where their house is. So we were on the Air Force Base for the first several days, and then moved over to their new place, and then I had to go shopping and get all the stuff for the new house and all that. So they're all set up now. So it was a whirlwind trip, even though it was 7 days. So I wanted to go see, try to see some beekeepers down there. I passed a bunch of beehives coming back in the middle of the country.
Right.
And some of the prices, if you stop at the little gas stations that have like the local honey and oranges and stuff like that for sale, man, some of the prices they had on that stuff, they're proud of it. They were proud of that honey.
How much was it? $15 a pound?
It was $10 for a half pound and $15 or $15.99 for a 1 pound. And then they had a pint with some comb in it was like $30. So it was kind of crazy. 4x4 cut comb was like $26.
Yeah.
They're proud of it. So, and they had a ton of honey in there. So they had like a couple different local guys stuff there and difference. They had everything from like a 2 ounce all the way up to, whatever size you wanted to get there. But it rained every day. It rained some every day there. But I stopped at my out yard on the way back and just did a front of the hive inspection. and they're all flying. So I'll try to get out there this weekend if I can, and do some inspections. I got to look back and see when the last time I was there. So one of them I may be making a queen, so I wanted to give her plenty of time, But they seem to be doing good. Everybody's doing good.
It looks like Matt Morris there. He got stung, but no reaction. So I was wondering, and all that. I guess hopefully there wasn't any prehistory of being allergic to bee stings.
Those Flower Street prices. Yeah, they were pretty proud of them, that's for sure. So, but we enjoyed the trip down there and had a good time, and just did
the air conditioner work?
Hell yeah, their air conditioner worked good. So even in the new place, it worked really well. So you come from outside to inside, feel like you're walking into the beer cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked well. And, babysat a lot, played grandpa a lot. So had a good time.
You seem to like that.
Yeah, it was fun. It's the one person in my family that doesn't talk back. No sacks back from the baby usually. Give him a cheese puff and he's good to go.
Yeah. So, well, everything's been coming along right away here. I put Apiary in this past Saturday, so it'll be a week tomorrow, and they'll come out on the 31st of August.
Right.
And it's just been, like I said in my video, it's been 90 degrees pretty much every day. And I mean, here lately is pretty 85, is usually 85, 89, 90. And humidity, some days are a little bit more than others, but most of the time is pretty tolerable. And I don't know. It was just there was a few days there were really high.
Well, the rain every day has been keeping it kind of in check, down around here.
We haven't had any rain at all. Well, we might have had like a cell that came over top of the farm and rained for 15, 20 minutes and gone. And that's
right.
About it. And now it's been saying the last 4 days, oh, it's raining in Maryland. Yeah. 100 miles south of me,
Right.
And so anyway, I said, well, I've got all these different things bought. I just went ahead and put the Apiary in, playing it safe, and let it go at that. And the queen, in the video there, the hive that had the rock or the little square cinder block on there. I took a nuke. It had medium frames in one of the boxes that had eggs and stuff, larvae in it and stuff. So I went ahead and threw that right in the middle of that hive. And I was going through the other part of the hive, which was the deep, putting frame by frame over into another box underneath of a catching, where I use a lid to catch everything dropping off bee-wise. So after I got done, couldn't find the queen. I said, okay, put all them frames back. I had a whole lid full of bees. I said, I'm just going to dump the whole darn thing into that hive. And I said, she's either in this nuke or she's either in that 10 framer. And I went back at the end of the day when I did the Apiary, and I went through that hive, and I took the top box off and got into the middle medium. The first frame I pulled out, well, there she is walking across the frame. I said, all right, now I know where you're at. So that's when I said, okay, let's go ahead and put Apiary strips in this hive. And in the beginning of that video, I had that single nuke deep box. There was a hive next door to it, off to the right. It was a deep and a medium. Medium was full of honey. And it was dwindling. It was queenless and dwindling. I said, okay, fine. I just shook all the bees off into that single nuke that had a young queen that just, became laying.
Right.
And so in the hive that I took the queen out for the big 10 framer, they had some deep frames. Two of them had slabs of brood capped on both sides on two of the big frames. So I pulled them frames out, put them in this other brand new queen that had a frame or two laid up with larvae, and pulled two frames out of there. It was kind of empty, and put those two frames with bees and cat brood in there to give her a boost. And then I put that medium on top that had honey in there, so they have plenty of food. So I have tomorrow, hopefully in the afternoon, go back and check the one hive that I pulled the queen out of. They got queen cells. I'm gonna let them go. If they don't have queen cells, I'll distribute the wealth across the board and let it go at that.
I got 8 days of YouTube catching up of all the beekeeping videos that are put out. Alex put out a video as well.
Yeah, I've seen that. I haven't had a chance to go look at that. He talked about the nuke. Was he combining a nuke with a 10 frame or?
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I just saw he put one out.
There's something about using paper method.
Yeah, paper combine. I know that's what it was on, but not.
Now, I just got off of a chat, the local Pennsylvania chat that I go into. They were talking about queens. Now, let's see if you heard her. Maybe Mark Miller, who's in the chat, can school us on this. We're talking about introducing virgins. And I don't know whether Man Lake has it or some other European bee supply house has virgin introduction queen cells. They look like a tapered cell. You put her down head first into it. You got a cap on the top, and then you take and you cover the bottom up with wax so she can eat herself out and go out in the thing. And I'm like, and the guy was
explaining, if you don't starve, you don't put too much wax on it and she starves or something in the meanwhile.
Well, my thing of it is, I told Ed, I said, who was talking about, I said,
walk them in the front door.
Just walk her on in.
Or put her on top of the frame.
Well, about acceptance rate. I said, well, I haven't raised queens in 3 years. But when I was doing it, and the 2-frame mating nuke was hopelessly queenless, you walked it on in there and you come on back in a couple of weeks and she's laying.
She doesn't really have any pheromone either when she first.
Right. Well, then he talked about, well, was she a young virgin or old virgin? I'm like, well, what do you mean? I says, when that thing hatches out of my incubator,
it goes into a nuke.
Within 2 or 3 hours, as soon as I see her, let's say she's hatched, and maybe, I just got up and seen her or whatever, or maybe it's lunchtime and I got to wait till that afternoon to put her in. I'm going to, or even at lunchtime, I see, oh, she's already hatched. Maybe she's hatched for an hour, maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. If I got time at lunchtime, I'm going out there and I got hives that are set up, ready to go.
Right.
I'll walk her on in. He's talking about holding that virgin in that cage for like 5 days. I'm like, why?
Yeah, it's not like a mated queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I've done last year when I grafted, as soon as she hatched, I already had nukes made up that didn't have a queen. I just literally put her on the top bar of the frame and let her walk down in there.
Right.
No problems. But, one thing.
Well, Mike, now, Mark, that's right, Mark. If they're building queen cell, they will kill her for sure.
Yeah, you should hopefully have your stuff split. If you're grafted and you got a virgin.
Well, when I put those mated queens in this springtime, my hives were queenless for 5 days. I went through every hive, every frame, shook all the bees off, take my hive tool, kill every queen cell there was, or anyone I even thought they were a queen cell. Scratched them all.
Yep.
Got everything killed away. At that point in time, that hive is hopelessly queenless. And they can't make any more queens because everything's too old. Then put your mated queen in there in a cage, and they'll release her, 3 days later or so. Sometimes they'll release her early. I had some when I put them in my nuke that it was like 4 days and it was just about ready to release. They had a hole dug out, but not quite big enough for her to walk out. So I popped the cork and let her
walk in.
Let her walk on in, and she was a mated queen. But they've been down a queen for quite a while.
Yeah.
Hey, Lisa.
I don't know. Even like it didn't take me long to ditch the queen marking tool either. The queen catcher. I'm like, all that stuff you're doing, you can't hardly see. You're trying to slide the thing down, and I ended up killing more queens with that thing than anything. So I just ditched it. I mean, and the quicker you can get used to just picking her up and dotting her and putting her back, or the easier it is. You might sacrifice one bad marking queen or something like that, or until you get your technique down. But
I bought one, but I haven't used it. I got a crown of thorns, as they call it. The one that's got the pins way around the circle with all the little strings.
James loves that thing. You just put it over the queen.
Put it right over top on the thing and mark her, and then pull her off, and she's still on the frame.
Yep. Let's see.
Hey, Keith.
Yeah, hey, Keith. I was just reading DC. Said he marked his first 2024 queens.
But so that's what's happening, and so anyway, I'm either down one nuke for sure, maybe down two, but that I'm set me at 26 hives right now, which is fine. If I'm at 26 or 27, that's fine. Because
Perfect.
now I got a space on my rack for my cell builder come springtime next year.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that next year. It'll be a graft year for me. I'll graft a bunch, start replacing.
Hey, Russell. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely I'm getting back into them. Not worrying about selling nukes as much as getting back in and really producing a bunch of queens and all that.
But yeah, I walked out to see how they were doing. They were flying. It's like, all right, see y'all tomorrow. I mean, nothing I can do right now. And everything seems to be doing good. It rained a little while here today because everything was muddy and wet here when I got home. So I just looked to see they had started flying again, and I was like, perfect. The ones out the out yard all have bees in the entrance and flying. I'm like, perfect. See you later. Didn't open them. Didn't touch them.
Right. Hey, Westcliff.
Lynn's asking, Charlie, will you start raising your queens or buy them next year?
Who's that? I'm going to raise them. That's Lynn. I'm going to raise them. There's a friend of mine up in PA. Hopefully, if I don't know, it depends. Whenever he can get me some mated queens, whether it be 5 or 10, I like to get some of his stock, some of his genetics. They're supposed to be really nice and, hey, Dan, nice and calm and all that.
That's the reason I didn't graft this year, because I've totally introduced new genetics in the yard, and the stuff that I was replacing wasn't that good to begin with. So mating off of that would just give me inferior queens. Was my, I had to do it out of necessity last year, but and next year it'll be because those are the ones that I want, so that's what I'm going to be working with, hopefully.
Now, there's a question for Mark Miller out there. I heard on this chat that I was before I got in here, said that if you have a brand new queen and she's mated, and you let her lay for at least 3 weeks, and this is where they read it in a book, I think, someplace, that you can bank her in a cage for months, I'll say, without any detrimental outcome as far as her being able to lay when you finally release her. That's because of her ovaries being completely mature and all that kind of stuff. And I've always heard that you don't want to bank a queen no more than about a week or two at the most. Hey, Sandy, good to see you. So, Mike, let me know what your opinion is on that, or what's the real deal in real life. But I don't know. Me, when it comes to bees in general, if they're
There's JW.
there he is.
JW.
Hey y'all.
How you doing tonight?
Hanging in there. I've been in the bee yard all day today, and I'm one hot, wore out old man.
I drove 500 miles and then got on a live chat. That's what I did. So we've been going all day.
Brian wants to know how long after you put her to do. How long after you put her?
Push in cages.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't used push-in cages.
Mm.
I've used them. You can leave. I've left them in there for
Where's she at?
7 to 10 days without any problem.
Sandy ends up with 64 hog half combs.
Nice.
Nice. And Sandy, were they I'll say drawed out, I'll say uniformly as far as the thickness and that kind of stuff?
I'm not going to be able to stay on here very long. Wife's cooking dinner, so gonna be going in a few.
And they were. That's really nice. I have not tried them. Obviously, you had a very strong beehive and a good nectar flow.
Yeah, that's nice when that works. I saw those snap-in ones that Bruce was using. Seemed like it did okay, but if he did one super, and there was
they were kind of expensive,
and there's 80 of them, and he only got 30 something out of them, right? 35 or so good ones. I'm just trying to remember back from the video that's less than 50% sellable. So that means the cost of your case actually just doubled in price, just about, as far as cost of goods for a sellable product. But I mean, it was a trial, so maybe he learned some good stuff about it. Yes, Bob is getting hungry.
Well, Sam, I don't know Sandy sent me a picture of her hog half combs. They look really nice. Good and white looking. Uniform. Very nice. But so JW, what's happening?
I'm doing the same thing you're doing, breaking down hives.
How's coon hunting doing these days?
I only caught one this week. I think I'm starting to get them slowed down. I've caught.
How many? What's your total count?
I've got 35 raccoons and 4 possums. Out of the same
35.
35 coons and 4 possums with 2 traps in the same stall out of a 3-sided birthing barn that I had I had my cows, gave birth to baby calves then.
Well, now you got yourself a new bedspread for winter now.
Well,
Couple coonskin caps.
no, I should be doing that, but I've got some property away from my main farm premises and in the river bottoms, and I'm taking them up there, and I'm flooding it. My my coon hunter buddies is really enjoyed it. I took 26 up there last fall. I painted them all yellow. And with marking paint before I turned them loose. And they said, "Boy, that bottom is full of yellow coons." But I didn't paint these that I'm dumping up there this year. But I'm taking 35 up there.
Let me see.
How far away did you relocate?
It's about 8 miles. I've never, those I marked last year, that's the reason I mark a lot of them, just to see if any of them ever made it back, and they didn't. So I think that's kind of an old wives' tale.
Yeah, I had a call, I guess it was yesterday, and friend Lloyd called me up, this beekeeper. Oh, he's about a half hour away. A bear hit, he had 2 hives in his backyard, and he got hit by a bear, tore one apart. So, his wife went off the deep end about the bear, and it's going to kill the dogs and kill her and everything else. And so he wanted to get rid of the hive. And a friend of mine, I said, "You want this hive? I'll help you get it." Yeah. And between workloads and whatever, like tonight with the Friday night bee chat, I said, we can do it Saturday evening. And well, what happens when the bear comes back? Oh, I guess it's going to eat another hive. Anyway, he texted me this morning. Somebody else came last night and got the darn thing. But the bear did come back to see if they could find some seconds when it came to food and all that. I said, around here, to see a bear is a very, very unusual.
Yeah, they're very rare in my
They seem
area.
to be migrating in now.
It's on all the local news channels here. They're very rare here, and there's one running around, about 30 miles down the road from me. They're seeing it pretty regular. So, but some idiot will probably shoot it. We'll see.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna hop off. If I can, I'll jump back in later.
All right. Bye.
All right. See you later.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be me and you, Charlie. Looks like I'm going to have to break out my bedroom hive and show you.
Bedroom. Oh, you mean like that other guy?
Uh,
Yeah, Sandy. I got those pictures. Sandy, she lives in Western Maryland in the mountains. And she's in bear country big time. And they had a couple bears there rooting around the trash can. I think she sent me a picture of.
Is that Icy Mountain, Charlie?
Yeah, Icy Mountain
Yeah.
Hunt.
Yeah, I don't know those folks. Yeah.
Right
No,
close-
I've been in hives all day today. I'm about like you. I combined. Actually 3. I did 3 combinations, and I didn't find a queen on any 3. And my unmated queens, I've just loaded with. I think that's what my problem is. I'm loaded with.
Mites.
No, I'm loaded with barn swallows and
Oh, okay.
dragonflies and martins, and I'm not getting any. I put some grafted queens in some of these hives, and I didn't get half of them back. I actually ordered some Carleolan queens, some mated queens from Laps about an hour ago. Lappies up in Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
and because I had an opportunity to get some virgin queens, but that's the same situation. I bring virgin queens in here. You know, I can't get them mated. I won't get half of them back. So I just bit the bullet and ordered some queens from Lappies up there in Iowa. So I'll have them in 3 or 4 days. That will be a middle of next week because they won't ship until Monday now. So,
Well, I'm, around here, I'd say queen rearing is pretty much done. It's by the end of July, you're pretty much done.
yeah, well, that's the same here. That's the reason I'm ordering some. But I know I've got 3 hives that's I'm going to have queens for. Because I've combined all I can do. Pretty much I've got everything loaded up, and I've pulled once. I pulled about 750 pounds, and I've probably got another maybe 300, 350 that I got them. I sorted all my supers today and went through them and marked them. I'm going to leave them on there another 15, 20 days at least. And then I'll pull everything, and I've got everything ready to break down, start feeding for winter. And I'm going to start treating tomorrow with Apigard on the ones that don't have, that I still don't have honey, that I've got all the honey supers off of in my replacement type hives. So.
Here's some Brad. Hey, Brad.
Hey, what's up?
We need help in here anyway. Get on here.
Now, Westfield, we don't. I know you're out there in Colorado. We don't have the Rockies. That's them young mountains out there. We got these old mountains over here, the Appalachians, but they're still mountains. So, how's it down your way, Brad? Is it raining like crazy, like Lee's been talking about?
Yeah, it's been raining a lot, just about every day for the last week.
Is that right? I wish it'd come up here. And rain.
You talk about those showers, Charlie. I had one swing over me yesterday, and in 15 to 20 minutes, I got 3/4 of an inch.
That's
it's
about
a little local
last
deal.
one we had here was, I guess it was either this week or last week. And like you said, it poured. I call it white rain, where it just, it's white in the sky.
Yeah.
For about 15 or 20 minutes. And then it just kind of showered throughout the rest of the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. But we're super dry. And everything that's been raining, it's been 100 miles south of us. And all.
Day before yesterday, I had a little unusual experience. See if anyone else has had a similar situation. I had a hive actually. I was working on a tractor, and I heard some buzzing. Went outside, and I had a hive that was full of it. The air was full of bees. I walked out there, and I took a little video of it that I posted on YouTube. I tried to post it on Facebook. I tried to post it on YouTube, and I couldn't get it to pick up. Anyway, this hive swarmed. It went about 40 feet and bivouacked on some goldenrod plants. And so I went to get a nuke box to put them in. I was gonna try to catch him back. And by the time I got back with the nuke box, I went about 200, 300 yards to get it and come back. They was in the air again, and they took flight and went right back to the hive box that they came out of, and went back in. And I went in and broke it down, and I never found one swarm cell. I didn't find one supersedure cell. I didn't find one emergency cell in that. It was 8-frame double deep, and I didn't find one queen cell in that hive. I don't know. I guess they decided to just go for a little camp out for a few minutes or something, then go back home. I never had it before.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I was let's see. But I was reading some of the comments there. I was going to talk about something. I forgot now what it was. But anyway, yeah, it's been super dry here and all that. So obviously you're not getting in your bees too much, Brad.
No, I've been getting in them pretty good now. I started out trying to make some queens, and everything was going good. Setting me up a starter finisher hive where the queen gets put at the top and put the grafts below.
Yeah.
And I did it a couple of days ahead of time. Then I went in there and knocked down all the cells and grafted, put them in there, went back, checked to see what take I had. I think I had 22 out of 30, something like that, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
And the cells were looking good, but they hadn't capped them yet. So I was gonna swap it back over because they had only been in there like 3 days, the cells themselves. So I put the queen back down at the bottom, put the queen excluder, put the cells at the top, and let the whole hive, finish the cells off. And they look great. It was some nice cells. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show them on a video that I do. Went back in there. I said, well, I figured by the time they were capped, I like to put those roll cages on there because I always hear when they hatch. So I was gonna go in there and put roll cages on all of them. That way they can hatch and be fed by the regular bees or whatnot. And I pulled out my frame, and every cell had been stung and busted open on the side. So I tore the whole hive apart. I found one little queen cell where a virgin hatched out that I missed. It was like on a frame without plastic foundation, just regular bee foundation. Right. And it was in between the bottom of the comb and the frame.
The wood.
Yeah. And I missed that sucker. And I it had a little flap where it had hatched out. So she was above the queen excluder. So I found her and I ended up moving her to another hive so that she can get mated. But I got one queen out of 22. It wasn't even one I crafted.
Now, let's talk about your cell build, the Queen Right cell finisher builder, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how you set that up and how many days prior to whatever you do. Like, do you do certain things, a week ahead of time and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, first I find a real strong hive that has a lot of brood in it, or she's got it pretty packed out. That way they have a lot of nurse bees and stuff.
Right.
And I go through there, I find her, and then I move her. In this case, this hive had 3 boxes because it still had like a partial honey box on the top.
Right.
So it was 3 deeps. Well, I went in there, found her, moved her to the top. I moved her box to the top and only put her 1 frame of brood, and the rest was just open areas where she could start laying up there and stuff. And the rest was just honey frames. Back to it, it's an 8-frame hive. So you had like 2 frames of brood and 1 empty frame, and then 5 honey frames up there. So she's up there. She has another frame she could lay in because she's not gonna be up there long. And I went down, put all my brood frames in the bottom box, left 1 frame out where I can slip my grafted frames in. And the middle box was more or less just honey and pollen. So I waited 4 days. I grafted, and that way I could figure by 4 days they would have all their cells made at the bottom. Let me back up. The queen was divided with a double screen board.
Okay, right. That's what I figured.
Yeah, double screen board. So that way the bottom realized they didn't have a queen, they would start going crazy cells. and I must have found like 20 queen cells that had started, but I missed that one.
Right.
And it didn't stop them from starting my queen cells, because when I put those grafts in there, they started on them right away. They only had that one queen cell, and they still thought they were queenless. And here comes this fresh eggs and larvae, and they went ahead and, like I said, did 22 out of 30. And so once they start drawing them out, you can go ahead right then and there, like day 2 of you having your grafts in there. You can go ahead and turn it over and put the queen back on the bottom with the queen excluder, and they will continue to draw it out. As long as she's at the bottom and you put them queen cells at the top, they will continue to feed those cells, and that way the whole hive, all the bees, including the ones she had at the top, can help nurse those queen cells. And I found that way works good because they make some nice big cells when they have the more bees, the better. So they were some pretty cells. It's just that you can see where she stung them in the side, and they chewed out the side where she stung them at. And
all right, so you made that bottom when you make this queen right hive up, and you put all that brood down in the bottom. You're about a week ahead of time, if not maybe 2 weeks, right? You're going out there, like you're going back there. You fix it up to where she's upstairs, the brood and everything's in the bottom, the double screen board. You're probably waiting 4 to 5 days is what I'm getting at. And then you go back, you take and cut all the queen cells out so they're, quote, hopelessly queenless.
Yeah.
And then after that, you should be able to put your graft down there. And then if everything is working properly, 6 days later, those grafts should be capped.
Yeah.
And then you're going to switch it. Well, you could actually, like you said, you can wait for a couple of days where they're starting to build the cells.
Yeah.
And then switch it back around, and then they'll continue to build the cells and take the double screen out and put the queen excluder in.
Yeah, you could actually do it. You could put your graft in, go back 24 to 36 hours later, and you could tell which ones they've all started. They start that little ring around them. And you can actually swap it over right then and there. That way you'll know how many you have that'll take, and they'll keep on. But if you go back in there 2 days later and there's none, and you know something's wrong, there's the queen got through you either had 2 queens or something's wrong where they feel like they're still queenless. But so, I mean, I like it because you don't have to, a lot of people started in one hive and then they'll move it to another hive, to be there, which is basically the same thing. I mean, I just use the same bees. It's easier just to stay in one, but you have to find all those queen cells regardless what way you go.
Well, for me, I haven't raised any queens for the last 3 years of just, I don't know, either between weather conditions, really cold in the spring, or I'm starting to learn even better now. Like for me in April is too early. Everybody keeps talking, we'll start in April the 15th. And it was always cold. And I've talked to some folks that got 50 years experience in our area. And they're saying, hey, wait till the 1st of May. And then things start to get calmed down. As far as weather, as far as being warm weather. And I'm thinking, April, so May, June, and July, and then like now it's almost the end of July, and pretty much everything's kind of dead. And you might get, it depends on the weather conditions. You might get out, like you say, the 20th of April or something like that, if the weather's okay. But I think what I need to do is one thing I was always trying. I was like, let's make some queens. And I'll say, well, here's a nuke, and let me pull some frames and blah, 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 and put it all in there, and I'm ready to go. Well, no, I'm not. What I learned is you need to prep this thing. You need to think about it 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Where you fill that thing full of cat brood that's getting close to being emerging. And by the time it all emerges, and then maybe put another frame in there or whatever, or feed frame and that kind of stuff like it, then you got enough bees in there to do the job, and that kind of stuff. But it's something else that building the cell builder. And I've looked at, like you say, yours is kind of like the one guy I watched who took what Bob Benny said to do, which is your style that you're doing. I've always did just a queenless nuke where you just keep adding frames of brood to it and keeping the population, but I never could get the population built up properly. And that's where, like with Bob, I think the best way to do it is go through your other resource nukes, put a queen excluder in, and bring up brood above the queen excluder, and then have all them nurse bees come upstairs within an hour, and then shake all them nurse bees on a ramp going into that cell builder, and they'll all just pack themselves in there. It's a process, and that's where I messed up over the years, is I didn't do the process.
Yeah, you got to have the right age bees and stuff in there to be able to feed those queen cells.
Right.
And the other part of it is making up your mini mating nukes or whatnot. I played it different this year, which today I picked up that. I don't know if I mentioned it before. They got this company called the Bee Farm, a big operation that's statewide around here, and they sell queen cells. So since I seen all my cells were damaged and I had these nukes already made up, I ran over there and bought 15 cells. They sell them $6.50 a piece.
That's
so
cheap.
I bought some cells and put them in those nukes. I did make up my nukes. I have these 6-frame licensed nukes that I started buying to make my open winter queen nukes that I could sell early in the beginning of spring. Well, they were all in certain areas, and they were I made them up. I had another set of queen cells I did in May, and they're starting to get packed out. So what I did, I took those 6-framers, pulled 1 frame of brood out of them, moved the licensed nukes to a different location, and left the 1 frame in my 3-frame mating nukes with 1 frame of food and an empty frame. And I got all the old bees that flew in the hive that I moved because I left them in the same yard, and they all populated my 3-frame mating nukes. So all my mating nukes are well populated, ready for that queen cell that I put in today with that. So I didn't have to transfer bees and hope they stay in those mating nukes, because sometimes they'll abscond if they've been in the same yard. They'll leave out those little bitty mating nukes, and they'll either go back to their old hive or whatnot. But if you put them in the place where the old hive was at, they think that's their home, so they populate that mating nuke. So it worked out good. So when I dropped the cells in today, every box that I moved, I had 15 of them, was all populated real good. Plus they had 1 frame of brood in there with some nurse bees also, which that's all you really need when you drop the queen cell. You just need something to start the hive off with.
And they're all 3-frame, are they, Brad? All 3 frames?
They're all 3-framers. Now, some of them I only put 2 frames because the food frame that I put in them, I made my 3-framers a little too narrow. And if you got a wide, fat food frame, I didn't want to squash that queen cell, so I just put 2 frames in there, a frame of brood and a frame of food. And after they hatch, I'll go back and put another empty frame in there.
Do you have any problem getting? I have all those virgins or cells, and this time of year I can't get them. I can't get them mated. I've got too many. I was telling Charlie, too many barn swallows and purple martins and dragonflies. They're
well, that's probably going to be my problem. JW is the darn barn swallows. So I got them everywhere. I've been trying to build a nest where I keep my bee supplies in there. I'll take a shovel, with a mud nest, Every 3 days I got to go in there and knock almost a complete nest down.
Well, we have a lot of dragonflies, which I haven't seen a lot yet. There are some in the open areas of the field and stuff in the yard, but around where I have my mating nukes, they got a lot of trees and stuff, and I find that the dragonflies don't hang around the tree. But besides that, the birds were a problem before, but now we got these. They just moved into the area like 2 or 3 years. These little blue falcons. They give havoc to the birds. There's hardly no more them little Mexican doves and all them little sparrows and all that. They've wiped them out. I mean, they've taken them.
Are they the peregrine falcons, or you know?
I don't know what. I just see them when they perch up in the tree. They are grayish blue, and they're a small falcon. They're smaller than like a chicken hawk or anything like that.
Yeah.
They almost look like the size of like a red-tailed falcon or something like that.
Yeah.
But they attack those little miniature doves, those little rainbirds, the sparrow, all that.
I'll be back.
Huh. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I don't recall how long when you came in or were you watching or not. But I actually ordered some maiden queens today. I didn't. I've got to have some, and I can't get stuff mated locally. You know, either from sales or buying virgins. You know. So I had some out. Lord, I didn't have 30% of them got mated. You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's kind of rough there.
Well, I've just got too much. There's too much predation. You know, everything in the world's after them around me. My main apiary, where I do the apiary I use to do my resources and grafting and so forth, is in between two pretty good sized bodies of water. I mean, they're big ponds, small lakes, whatever you want to call them. But I've got, like I said, the birds come there to water, and the dragonflies. You know, they hang around those pond areas. So
yeah, they like to fly over the ponds and stuff.
Yeah, I just have trouble getting virgins, or if I hatch out.
Around where I live, there's no local like lakes or ponds within miles, so we don't have too much trouble with that.
Where you're at, I've got a lot of water around there. Yeah, a lot of water and woods. I'm surrounded on 3 sides by woods. So.
Mm-hmm.
You say you got a lot of water. What do you got? Ponds or something, JW?
Yeah, they're big ponds, small lakes, whatever you want to call them. They're 2 or 3, 4 acres apiece. So
yeah, them dragonflies love them areas.
Yeah, it makes it good for my bees. They've got a good water supply, because this time of year they get a little mossy scum on top of them, and in the shallow ends, and then bees can lie on that moss, and I don't have to worry about water from my bees and so forth. But
my bees,
Hey,
I catch drinking out the ditches and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you see that new thing? It looks like a little yellow float that you put on your water, and the bees will land on the float, and then
no, that's too.
I think I seen an advertisement about that. Is it from I'm trying to think of the company that.
I don't know who put it out. I didn't look at it. I mean, down below the mill there, if it rains, so there's a ditch that gets kind of water in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got that sawdust in there, and it's got that acid in that sawdust and minerals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then bees will come in there where there's no water, but they can suck it out of the sawdust.
Yeah.
And they'll have a actual patch of bees there sucking it out of the sawdust.
My neighbor complained to me one year when I first started with bees. She says, "I can't put out my hummingbird feeders no more because of you." Supposed to have them by now anyhow. They migrate at a certain time of the year, and it's always been known, pick up your hummingbird feeders at a certain time so that they go move on.
Well, just look at it this way. Tell them that she's feeding a more productive insect than a darn hummingbird. You know, you're getting honey out of it, pollination out of it. What's a hummingbird? What do you get out of that? Nothing.
And then they called me one day. They said, your bees are next to our house and they're bothering us. And so I went over there and I said, y'all ain't got bees, y'all got ground hornets. That ain't mine. Said, no, sir, that's not my bees.
You say ground horns, you talking about like yellow jacket?
Yeah, yellow jackets. She had this ivory that grows up around the oak tree and stuff, and they were in that ivory in a hole in the ground.
Yeah, I went to
I got attacked. We went when my kids were little. We went on a camping trip for squirrel season, and the kids were little, so I brought a weed eater just in case at the campground they had tall grass, and I was weed eating that grass down so those kids could play around the camper and stuff. And I hit some yellow jackets in a hole in the ground by this grass.
yeah.
And I didn't know it till it was too late. They covered that weed eater and my back and my legs. I couldn't go hunting the next day. I stayed in the camper, swole up. My wife gave me Benadryl and stuff, but that was a painful ordeal. I can't tell you how many stings I got. I mean, my back was just red with stings. And the only way we got him off, my father-in-law came running over. He had bought some yard fogger to spray for the kids, for the mosquitoes, like to spray around the camper and stuff. And he threw me the can, and I started spraying them off my legs and my back and everything. That's the only way I got him off. That weed eater had made him so mad. It was unbelievable. They had just, when I threw the weed eater down, they just covered it. They were just all over that weed eater. I guess the vibration from the weed eater and stuff.
Yeah, they
Matt's
don't
got
like that vibration.
yeah. Matt's got a problem there. I don't know. Everything I can think of is get yourself a bunch of honey and then start making some money and say, here's the money from the honey. Oh yeah, we like that.
Yeah.
But buy yourself something.
Yeah.
Well, I went up here to our club was at a blueberry festival, and they said somebody got stung in the parking lot, which was a grass field is what it was, and it was wooded around the edges and stuff. And he said, well, that guy took his Jeep or whatever it was and hit that stump there. Well, I'm thinking, well, okay, it's got a swarm or a hive in the stump. I'm walking down where the cars drive. I got hit in both ankles in the socks. And I seen one of the bees that was on my sneakers. And I grabbed it, pinched it. It was a damned old yellow jacket. And I said, there's some yellow jackets in the damn grass right here. You know, so anyway.
I got one of my worst thumping as a kid from my dad.
Hey, Russell.
He was planting soybeans, and I took a lunch out to him. And I seen there was
It's 8 o'clock.
yellow jackets there on the ground, so I set his lunch bag on top of the yellow jacket. You know, the hole where the yellow jackets come out of the ground. And then when he picked up the sack, you can imagine what happened. And he didn't think it was funny as I did. I was just a kid. I got a pretty good thumping over that.
You don't think about the effects until after it's over.
Yeah.
When you hear, come here, go on your switch. I used to hate to have to go break your own switch.
Yep.
And he'd tell me, leave some leaves on the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, I pretty much deserved every one I got.
Yeah, so did I, Brad. And then some, probably.
So
Yeah, Matt.
we got them because we was outside doing stuff. The kids these days, you got into trouble when you went and do stuff outside. messing with the tractor or doing something you wasn't supposed to do. And
Didn't smoke, did you? Get caught smoking?
no, I didn't do that when I was little. I did do. I did terrorize my two brothers whenever, because I was older than them, and I was the one who had to do all the chores, milk the cow, put all the stuff out in the pasture and stuff. You know, I took care of all the animals, and it was pretty much mama's boy. I was 7 years older than them, so I would just always terrorize them. They'd come to the barn, giving me trouble. I'd pick up a fresh cow patty, slap them behind the head. They'd run back to the house crying to mama.
Yep. I was on the other end of that thing. I was the youngest of 7 boys and 3 girls. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I caught the tail end of all that. So I was on the other end of that fun. I was the catchee or the catcher or whatever.
Yeah.
So you were on a like a small farm, Brad, or
Yeah, it's just like a little family deal.
I mean, you had one milk cow, you had a whole herd.
We had about 6 females, but we'd only like milk 1 or 2 because Daddy, he wouldn't drink store-bought milk. So we had to steady drink, you know, had to milk the cow every day or every other day. And we always kept a couple of calves, you know, going because you gotta have a calf to keep the milk going. And when you small, that's a struggle. You ever try to fight a calf who's trying to get to his mama for milk, and to fight her off, fight the calf off? Because I don't know if it's, we raised a lot of Jersey cows, and when you go to milk them, they would hold that milk. You try to start milking them, and they wouldn't let that milk down. So you had to let that calf in, let him start to suckle a little bit on 1 or 2, and she would drop that milk. That milk would just come down, and then you had to fight that calf out, get him out the pen, and then lock him out, and then start milking. You can go to town then milking the cow, but you had to fight that damn calf every day. And that was
The best thing about it was licking them calf slobbers off them teats on them cows where you could milk them. You know, I always lick the calf slobbers off.
Man, that. And then if we let we would get we had a section in the pasture that had a lot of bitter weeds, and if you let that cow in them bitter weeds, that milk tasted horrible. And I can tell you, I got a spanking one day because I was mad at my daddy for something, and you know he always had a big glass of milk with his supper when he come home from work. I let that cow graze in them bitter weeds for 2 days, milked her, and give a big old glass full. He knew I did it on purpose. So I got me a little spanking for that one. I guess I shouldn't have given it to him when he came home. But yeah, it was fun growing up on doing that all kind of stuff.
Yeah, we got milk cows to spring in this area where I'm in here. While you get the onion and the garlic in the milk, it makes it a little tasty also.
Yeah, you had to keep them in that good grass to keep some sweet milk going.
What's that bitter weed or whatever it was?
It's a wild flower. It's yellow, and they grow up. They like weeds. They'll take over a field if you don't keep the field well fertilized or chopped up and regrass it. And I actually don't know the real name of them. We just called them bitter weeds growing up, and they just grow wild. And the cows will eat them. And if they eat that, that's bad tasting milk.
Some of the farmers in my area, I think it's the same stuff, call that wild mustard, but it's actually butterweed is the true name for it. Charlie, I don't know if you know what they call wild mustard in your area, or you may not have it. It's a yellow flower. It just
Wild mustard.
Field.
It makes a small yellow flower too.
Yeah.
and one plant will make a bunch of flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've had mustard and all. But we usually had sprayed or whatever. They talking about that's what it was. Is somebody was talking about goldenrod. I went across the road here where the staghorn sumac was to see. I never really paid much attention to that. It's supposed to be good for nectar sources where my bees, I think it's already been blooming because it's kind of a soft velvet looking head on there. And I think it's already
You talk
bloomed.
about the sumac?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very good. I wouldn't think it'd be very good bee forage, but it may be, you know.
Well, the staghorn, they say there's sumac and then there's staghorn sumac.
Yeah.
Sumac is kind of looks like tallow, I guess,
Mhm.
with fingers of blossoms like that.
Mhm.
Then the staghorn is kind of like I don't know, like a cone looking shape bloom. It's reddish, kind of red velvet looking.
Mhm.
And so anyway, I went over there and looked at it here a couple of days ago. It looks like to me it's already bloomed. But here, I mean, after the 4th of July, I went and checked those hives. And that's been 3 weeks ago, and they were full of honey, as far as the top brood chamber goes.
Yeah.
And there was one Formosa tree across the road too, which is a small tree, and it's all done now. But I was going around the backside of that. There's a drugstore over there. I went behind the drugstore there, and it's kind of weeded up all and around the area and stuff where they had piled dirt and stuff. And there was some goldenrod over there. It looks like to me it's some early stuff, and it was over there in bloom. So,
Do you get a lot of nectar from mimosa?
Mimosa.
Yeah.
Any mimosa that's around here has been, planted for decorative purposes in people's yards, etc. We don't have any scattered out through the countryside like some places do.
yeah, I see more so down in Alabama. When I was down there, it was all over the place. But down around here, you don't see it. It's more of a decorative tree. We had one in my yard here that my grandmother had, and it finally died out and cut it down.
We got them. They grow wild in here, especially along like the canals and stuff like that, roadsides and all that. So I see them a lot. I just didn't know be getting nectar from them enough to mount anything.
That's what I understand they do.
Yeah, the bees really like them. Even in people's yards, I see bees working the heck out of them. When they're right, but they're not. You won't find any wild like you're talking about down your area. I've been through that area and familiar with, but you don't. We also don't have a kudzu, so that's a good thing.
Well, we got some here and there with that kudzu, but nothing
You got
like
kudzu in your area? Yeah.
not around our area, but down closer to like around a railroad area. I seen it alongside where the railroad's down in a ditch. Way down in the valley, up on the banks, they got it growing there. Nobody's taking. It's not as bad as it in the great deep south.
You get it in Georgia, where I've got some interest down there, and you get a lot of kudzu down there. I didn't, and you got quite a bit in your area, do you not, Brad? Or are you familiar with it?
Well, in central Louisiana, no, but northern Louisiana, like more in the the drier area of Louisiana. I had a work buddy that they used to just, round it up wild, and they would feed it to their pigs. They said it would grow like wild around their house. But where I live at, we don't have any.
Well, you're lucky. No,
I didn't think pigs would eat kudzu.
You don't want it. Very prolific.
The only thing we got around here, they planted it years and years ago. They brought it in here, the multiflora rose.
Yeah.
Fence
rows, the birds scattered it all over the country.
It's still all over the damn country. And
You know, it's kind of growed itself out in my area. They used to be where I'm here in Southern Illinois. They used to
well,
be
that's
every
kind of,
place.
I was just going to say that here. There's still some, but those really heavy hedgerows, they've either bulldozed them out or something, or sprayed the living daylights out of them with some paraquat. Or
Replaced it with bush honeysuckle and then senior mama, what's the other bush that they brought in here? Got the little red berries comes on it.
yeah,
Birds got red all over it. It's taking all the woods. If you cut timber, take the timber out, then that stuff grows up every place.
Hmm.
Autumn olive's what I'm trying to say, if I can get it out.
I've heard of it, but I don't know much
You
about
don't
it.
have any autumn olive in your area?
Not that I know of. I mean, I'm kind of plopped where we got developments around me, and
Yeah.
it's pretty much, there's nothing let go wild anymore too much. So
Yeah, like my nearest farm neighbor's like 4 mile, you know.
well, it's like a couple days. Well, I guess it was yesterday. My son had him come in and spray those fields right behind me there for any wild, broadleaf and all that stuff
Mhm.
and all that. So he's trying to keep everything pristine, clean for
Yeah.
horse hay.
One of my neighbors actually called me yesterday, said they were spraying some insecticide on some soybeans. And I said, I appreciate you letting me know. And I covered my bee. They sprayed real early in the morning, so I kept my bees closed up till about 10 o'clock. So
Mm-hmm. No, what we're going to do, my son took back the rest of our farm that we rented, and which is 30 some acres, and he planted wheat, and we did the wheat, with the videos and stuff. And so this fall, if hopefully it'll rain enough, we can plant. He's going to plant hay in there, going to do all hay and stuff like that, and we'll be back to total grass farm, that kind of stuff, and all. But I did have right behind there, like in the picture, those green looking things are steel racks is what they are. Some Canadian thistle came up through there, and the bees were all over that.
really,
They liked that bloom. And I think since then he sprayed it. After the bloom was over, he sprayed it and killed it. Which it's kind of a hate-love situation. It's like, yes, it's nice for the bees, but I don't like that damn stuff growing anywhere because it's a bit, terrible.
You can't walk within 10 feet of it. You have stickers all over you,
Well, if it gets to blooming, then that damn stuff goes airborne. And here you're trying to keep a nice field clean and spend all this money and stuff. So
You have to fight it a bunch. It's I had cattle for years around all my premises, and boy, all them smaller lots they just take over if you don't stay after it and spray it about 2 or 3 times a summer.
Yeah, but and all that. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I did well this year. I, like I say, requeened everything and expanded the honey yard. Not that I was able to get honey off of all the new hives, but
How many hives are you up to now?
well, honey production, I went from 12 to 16. I was planning on 14. This time last year, after I did my honey production or honey harvest, I got to thinking about it. I'm looking at the hives, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have to touch those honey production hives from now until whenever, except for putting in mite treatments.
Yeah.
And that's it. I'm like, that's late. I like low maintenance,
Mhm.
and so then I had lost 50% of my production hives, more or less, and so I had sold 9 or 10 nukes this year. I had promised them prior to the beginning of the year, so I had I had to take and sell them to the people that I promised them to them. Or if it wasn't for that, I would have just used my own nukes to repopulate everything. And they were like 1-year-old queens. The nukes or the production hives that were dead outs, I bought new nukes from down there where Bob lives, from Kudix, and then I bought 15 queens to repopulate my old queens that were still alive in these production hives, and also the nukes that I had. Mike, I don't know what pollen wise. There's some goldenrod. I've seen that around. I haven't really been out there to really watch the front of the hives to see what kind of pollen's coming. Try to get out there tomorrow and do that. But so anyway, I got to thinking about it after I had all these dead outs and stuff, and I said, you know what? I got tired of dealing with the people buying nukes over the years, getting kind of things came at one time. You know, I had to be selling nukes. I need to be going to Georgia to help my friend, you know, get a truckload of bees and bring back package bees, and it's just too much going on around. And I get stressed out over trying to get these people to pick these nukes up when I wanted them to pick them up.
Yeah.
You know, I want you to be here today. Well, no, I can't do that, you know. So I got tired of all that. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go out of the nuke business as far as selling goes and get back into doing queens. And so I said, I'm going to expand and honey sales has really jumped for me because some guys went out of business right up the road from me, and he's pointing everybody to me to get honey. So that's been good.
Business.
That's a good problem.
Honey sales has really jumped for me. I'm doing at least 20 pounds a week, and I don't have to leave the house. They come to me, if not more per week, depending on what time of the year. If it's getting close to Christmas, I'll do 30 to 40 pounds a week and all, which is nice. And so anyway, I said, I'm going to expand my honey production to 16 hives. I'm looking at the racks that I have. You know, with nukes, I can put 4 nukes to a rack. With my honey production hives, I put 2 honey production hives to a rack. And so I went from 20 nukes down to 12. And I went from 12 to 16 honey hives. So that's 20. And I was at like 32 or 34 hives. Now I'm down, maximum amount is 28. And with less work to be put into it. And that's I'm happy with the numbers.
Yep.
And I got enough room in the back here where that old truck is and stuff, that cab. I can put up I can go as high as 30 mating boxes there. And that kind of stuff. So that's my game plan, is to go with the honey production hives. I got my 12 nukes right now. I'm down around 11, maybe 12. I don't know. I got one nuke that I had to combine, so I'm down at 11 nukes, and I got another nuke that, like I was telling about, taking the queen's out of it. Now, whether they've requeened themselves here in the last week with cells, I don't know. I'll check that out tomorrow afternoon. And I have to start buying bulk honey. Well, I could do that. That's not a problem. I can travel 45 minutes to an hour away, and I can buy honey by the bucket, by the barrel, no problem. But it's blended honey and all that kind of stuff. I like selling my honey and with the medical properties as far as allergy problems and things like that. And people like my honey. My honey is really tasty. Roy wants to know how many people's attending Nobby. I already got my tickets and I got my room booked. I'm going for sure. And then what was it, JW, last night? What was that? The one down in Sidell? What was it
It's
called?
canceled.
Be Alive, they canceled that. Yeah.
Be Alive.
Yeah.
They canceled that.
We still have our Louisiana bee conference in August. It's a pretty good one. They got a lot of vendors that go, and you can get some good deals there.
I think their problem was their vendors. I knew a couple of them that was there last year personally, and they said they didn't make expenses. So I imagine they had trouble getting some of them back. So that's the
Yeah,
deal.
I've seen
You
the
know,
first-
I seen that's what they kind of said. They said because of what was it, commercial or
Yeah.
commercial attendance is what.
Yeah, they didn't say commercial attendance. They said they wouldn't.
Lack
Lee
of-
had it posted there last night. I
Yeah,
forget.
lack of something of attendance or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you got Navi, and you got all these small, small. I'll say small community or regional.
Yeah.
State association conferences per se,
Mhm.
and you only have you got a certain amount of presenters as far as speakers go that they're drawn from, and then you've got Nabi where it's the biggest one in the country as far as I'm concerned. You got and then the history of far as the vendors go, they all seem, I think, it's profitable to go there. And then you got 26 classes going at the same time, and you got all them speakers and all that. So then when somebody hires, let's say that one of those speakers from Nabi, it's like, well, I already seen him or her. Or a lot of, like myself, my club, there were some speakers at Nabi that, like one of the ones from Penn State, which is close to me within so many hours. Well, they just, anybody can zoom in today. You don't have to be close by. You don't have to drive to see that speaker anymore. All you need to do is watch a Zoom meeting or a video or something of that nature. So that kind of sort of kills their it for the local group or the local person, I guess you would say.
I feel like it's kind of a fad too. Everybody's trying to keep up with the Joneses. Everybody's trying to have a little conference, and there's just these vendors. They can only go to so many of them, and they're gonna go.
A big part of our problem is though, they make it so expensive for these vendors to go get a spot.
Yeah.
And the vendors looking at you, you got 200 people showing up. Like that's what they had last time in Slidell, around 200 people. These vendors ain't going to make that much money to cover their spot.
Nope.
So they got to cover the spot, plus make a profit, plus pay whoever they got going out there. Cause it's not always the owners that go, like Man Lake and all that. They send different people out there. So you got to pay an employee to come back with
work. You figure truck. All right. Like if you go to Nabi and it isn't free to get that tractor and trailer from wherever it's coming from to Kentucky, loaded with whatever they're hauling and that kind of thing. And then you got the vendor, what it costs to put the vendor table in and that kind of stuff. And then you got, like say the shipping, you hope, have too much to ship home. And that's why you see a lot of these companies, do pre-sales prior to the show where you just pick it up at the show. And if they sell a little something off to the side, that's a little bit more, capital for them. But yeah, I'd say that, I mean, our Maryland State Conference is a free thing. They'll bring in a couple speakers occasionally and that's it. But it's not a big vendor thing. I see all that kind of just dwindling and all. It's just, people are not buying it, they're at wherever they're vendoring right now. All right, this coming next week or the week out, in the first week, within a couple weeks here, August, the first full week of August, the 5th through the 9th or the 10th, we got EAS here. First time in the last 30 years or something like that. Am I going to go? It's only 45 minutes from my house. I'm like, no. I mean, you sit there and you look at the itinerary as far as classes, and it's like super basic type of stuff. They might call it intermediate or advanced, and I'm like, no, it is not. And the people that you have, like, they have the classes in the middle of the week, Monday, let's say Monday through Thursday. Then they have the conference Thursday afternoon, Friday, and Saturday. Well, they got 3 major speakers. I said, I've seen these major speakers have already been to my club via Zoom or whatever, and they're all science people. There isn't a person like a Bob Benny in there that's a hands-on guy at all. And it's like, your conference speakers are lousy as far as I'm concerned. I've already seen their presentations. I can tell you what their presentations are about, and then you got how to, one of the classes, how to light a smoker. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I'm going to pay you $100 and some for 1 day ticket, and you're going to teach me that?
Get the latest and greatest. You don't even have to light them anymore. They just drop.
Yeah, just get a damn vapor machine. Yeah. Now that company's all out. I don't know, Brian and what's her name, and Natalie, and
I heard
they won't be having one of those babies.
Huh?
I heard they're expensive.
They what?
Expensive.
Yeah, $300.
Yeah, $300 and some.
Yeah, they're $300.
I'll stick to my pine straw and my dandy.
Yeah, that's me. That's me, Brad. As long as they got pine straw.
If they were about $100, I might consider it. But they're $300. I got a gal in my club's got one now. She has back issues and stuff, and her husband, bought her the thing, and she really loves it. I mean, it works great. But yeah, for $300, I'll mess with my propane tank and pine straw and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And bitch about it because it's going out or whatever. But that's like me, people, you smoke them. I don't really smoke mine down. I just kind of go in there and kind of push them off out of the way where I want to put the hive tool and do whatever I need, and that's it.
I need to make a little video, Charlie. I've got a smoker that my dad had. I'm 80 years old, and this smoker's over 100 years old. And back when they had the old cardboard quart oil cans, he took the whole side out of it. He took some baling wire and put a cardboard quart oil can around it, and I've got it hanging in my little old bee house where I work on my bee stuff out there. I need to take a picture of it and get it out to the public, I guess, because it's over 100 years old.
Yeah, Paul there, he says can't get a hive lifter to a conference. I said, yeah, there's a piece of machinery right there that if the guy, he's not really trying to promote himself as far as they're hand built, and they're a nice machine, and I really love mine. I mean, I went out there when I did Apiary, all them top. I tell you, I got down to those double deeps that I put in this year because I didn't want to buy any boxes. I guarantee you, this one, I thought I learned one thing. Like I was in the video there where I had a hive lifter connected to the box, and I'm trying to break the box apart, and I'm pulling the bottom frames up. I learned to break the box apart first and then add then connect the hive lifter to it. But I went up there with that double deep, and I was all my might I could do is, to crack that box apart. And I thought it was just stuck apart, but it wasn't. There's about 100 pounds of honey in that stupid thing along with some brood. And I mean, there was some weight on the front of that hive lifter there. If I didn't have that, I'll tell you one thing, I'll be definitely going back to mediums. And I really, with a hive lifter, I still like the mediums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're a little, a double deep is more convenient with just 20 frames instead of 30.
That's why I like the as far as when it goes to deeps, I like the 8 frames compared to the 10 as far as lifting.
Yeah.
I had a couple this afternoon that I was about all I wanted, and I had some 8s and some 10s, and they get a little bit on the heavy side.
And all that. So Paul, you're saying that you got John Hill looking about maybe making a hive lifter? Interesting. But anyway, I got 16 boxes there, and I lifted every one of them honey boxes off with that thing, and then of course the brood chambers, the 2 medium brood chambers, they're light as a feather. And I pulled the one off, put the 2 apivar strips in, put the next one back on, put 2 more apivar strips in, and then put the hive lifter and put that heavy honey box right back on top, the brood chamber, and all that. It worked out fine. It doesn't kill your back. If I had to lift all 16 on by, I wouldn't have been able to get all that done in one day or one afternoon, actually. And then I went through the nukes and got all them taken care of.
Is that going to be it for treatments for you for the year, or are you going to do something else?
Oh no, that's just the first. That's the first treatment. I got 3 different treatments. I got Apivar. If I could have got some decent weather, I would have had Aprigard on there gel, but it's just been too hot, and I put the Apivar on her since I had it bought. That'll come off the 31st of August. Now I'll be right around the 1st of September. If we get a 80-degree or less with low humidity, then I will put Formic Pro on full strength. And then after that, what do I use for uncapping? I use a Max Ant honey plane. And the only good thing I went and got a rheostat that Doug Longman of Longman Apiary up in Canada suggested, and it works out great. Plug that thing in there, and if you're cutting continuously, put it on the full amount of electricity. There's a toggle switch. If you're not cutting full frames of cappings off where it keeps that knife blade cool, you flip it over to the rheostat side where you can dial in the heat, and it keeps it just right. And it doesn't let it overheat. But that's what I use. I hand cap everything. I don't have the machines. I don't have the honey house. If I had a lot of hives like Tom and Melissa does via honey hives, I'd have an automatic uncapping machine and a 32 frame extractor and all that. I don't foresee me to get any bigger than I am. Actually, I got up to, it's been 3 or 4 years ago. I got up to about 44 hives. Now that was like 24 nukes and 12 or 14. I had some out yards, and I had, 12, 14 production hives. And then I also had so many mating boxes I was attending. You count all that up as a hive with a queen in it, you're around 50 some hives. Well, I have to work half a day Saturday. So I got a half a day Saturday, and then I have all day Sunday. And it was till 6, 7 o'clock Sunday afternoon or Saturday afternoon in the evening. And I was working all day Sunday. And I'm like, this is for the birds. Hey, Lee. And so I I don't know. See, I got rid of the last 3 years, like I was saying, I got between weather and time, I wasn't able to raise any queens. So I didn't fool with that for the last 3 years. And then there's Joseph. Then I had out yard, a fella that I was taking care of his bees and taking the honey off of that. He passed
Hey,
away.
George.
That's when I bumped my hives here at the house up to 12, from 10 to 12. And then like I say, this year I got to looking at it as far as the amount of hives, the amount of work. So I decided, okay, let's do more honey, less nukes, get back into queen rearing because it's a small window of work there. And I got the hive lifter, which makes things good. And so now I'm down to 28 hives, which is, so if I get, and I got a nice balance. I can do my queens. I've got good honey crop coming in, hopefully. And I've got a nice size amount of nukes for my resource hives. So I can pull my resources to make my cell builders out of those nukes. I can queen, or if I have a dead out, pull a nuke and put it in that spot come springtime. So I kind of got the best of everything as far as I can see right now. And all that. So, I mean, I have to, when it comes to, like Norman talked about taking honey, I don't have a honey house. So everything's got to be portable. So I take the back porch, I put the extractor in, I do my uncapping in my uncapping tank and get all that done, and then put my honey in buckets. The only thing that stays on the back porch year round is my bottling tank, which is a Max Ant water jacketed bottling tank. Now, Joseph, I was watching your video there. You were doing some uncapping and all, and you actually have a honey house, don't you?
Yeah, a little small one.
Yeah, but how big? I looked pretty sizable. Was it 20 by 30 or something?
No, it's a portable building. They call it a 16 by 20.
Yeah.
But it's actually about a foot shorter both directions. The 16 by 20 is the outside measurements.
And that's what, like a black bear building or something?
Yeah. I done forgot what company built it.
Yeah, up here we got the Amish company. It was up here. It was called Black Bear. And it was just it was a wooden shed is what it was.
Yeah.
Every Amish settlement's got a bunch of those, and as we got Amish, every one of them's got somewhere in that community's built sheds. There's a jillion different Amish shed companies between me and you, Charlie. I can tell you that, across Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, Virginia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, I'm close to PA. There's a lot of Amish.
Yeah.
That way. Amish and Mennonite, and they got plenty of shed companies. They got everything up there.
Sure.
They can pretty much find it. But so that's where I'm at. I think I got the right amount of balance amongst everything. I've had several calls for queens this year, and somebody asked about treatments. I got, my program is 3 treatments about 8 months out of the year. I do Apivar for this year. I'll do Apivar, which takes me 6 weeks. That's the beginning of September. And then in the sometime around early September, as long as the weather's conditions are correct, I'll hit with Formic Pro, both in the nuke and the 10 frame highs. And then after that, I got some Appy tablets at the Nobby show. I'm going to throw one of them in each one of them 10 framers and then start feeding. I should be done by the 15th of October on feeding. That's what I like to be, somewhere around that time. Then after that, I'll start doing in the winter, November, December, January, February, as long as the weather is about 45 degrees 45 to 48 before they start to fly. 48, they'll start flying a little bit. I found 45 degrees is a good, you don't have to fight the bees to keep them in and all that stuff. Just block the front entrance off. I hit them with oxalic acid vapor. I try to do that every 2 weeks through the winter, at least a couple times a month. If I don't get 2 times a month, I'll get 1 time a month. And then my main goal is to take the mites and maintain a low mite count throughout. And when the honey supers go on in the end of March, I stop by around the 1st of March. And as far as any type of treatments, and I don't treat anything until August or July of the following year. So I don't know. I talked to the bee inspector yesterday on a chat Baltimore had a meeting with her, and I got her lined up to come and take testing here in 2 or 3 weeks for the National Honeybee Survey. So I did that 3 years ago. I want to do it this year, see where my mite counts are. That way I got professional paper stating this is what my mite counts are and stuff like that.
Do they pull your samples for you?
Oh yeah, they do all.
That's the good thing about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all free, and they do all the work.
Yeah.
They pull larvae samples. They take about 1,100 bees. Either there's so many, cups of live bees, so many cups of dead bees in alcohol and all that. Now, last year they did it in October, which was really late. And I had a 0, or not last year, 3 years ago, it was really late, and it was a 0.2 infestation. And this is going to be several months earlier. I said, I don't know what, I might have a higher mite rate. We'll see what happens. But anyway,
I do basically the same thing. I started my Apiary treatments on the hives that I pulled my supers off of today, but I've still got, I think I've got 16 hives that I've still got honey on, so I can't start treating them. But after, I won't pull that other second pull till about 2 or 3 weeks from now. So
I started using
I use Farming Pro in the fall and OAV through the cooler months up here.
I started
yeah,
using
a lot of people go ahead, Brad.
I said I started using the little Swedish pads soaked in the oxalic acid. And the only thing I've noticed, I'll be anxious to check in. I'm going to wait about 4 weeks before I actually recheck the mites. But I had a hive that every time I opened them up, I mean, they would just go crazy, like attack me in the front of the veil, everything. And I put 2 pads on them about 6 days ago. And I was planning on requeening them because when I got them cells that I got today, and today I went for the first time, opened them up, and today was cloudy and drizzly, just like it has been for the last week. I was going in to find queen to paint her off because I wanted to get rid of that hot hive, and they were just as calm as could be. I mean, I opened them up, and it's just like it was a totally different hive, and it has a brood pattern, but I could get rid of it because they were a hot hive. And I changed my mind on, I don't know if it, and you think on a cloudy day, they would be just as angry as, they've been the last couple of days.
Well, I had a friend of mine. She, of course, she used the Swedish towels, and she was having a back operation, and she knew that she wasn't going to be able to get in there because of the back operation for months.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to say she put him in July because she wouldn't be able to even get in there July, August, September. I'll say no earlier than the 1st of October is when she would get back into them. She did a mite count in the beginning. She put the Swedish towels in, came back those months later, and her mite counts were quite low. it works, that extended release.
Well, I wrote down the number I had on some of the hives that I checked on the hive. That way I'll know, what I was started with at least.
Right.
Because some of them were kind of high. I mean, I think I had told y'all last time I had like 10 and 15 on some of the hives.
That's really high.
Yeah.
I mean, that's way, way, way too high.
And
It's
that was on like older hives. Like the older the queen, the higher the mite count. The younger the queen this year, because they had brood breaks and all that, it was very low, like 1 or 2 mites. But the ones that didn't have a brood break or anything, like overwintered queens, they had high mite counts.
Yeah, let us know, Roy, about what the mite checks are on that experiment that you're doing. Yeah, what's kind of interesting to me is that, if it's a 1% infestation on 300 bees,
Mm-hmm.
that means it's three mites. If it's 2%, it's 6 mites.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's 3, or 9 mites for 3%. And if everybody talks about it today, when they're doing a mite wash with the washer, it's like, oh, I have 1 mite or 2 mites, or do I have more than 3? And it's like the percentage has gotten super small if you do the mathematics that way, the way I understand. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but they'll say, well, I got, I'm washing 2s, or I'm washing 3s, or I'm washing 1s. And if they wash a 3 out of 300 bees, or a 2 out of 200 bees, 3 definitely treat, 2 you better be treating, and 1 you might want to, anymore. It's like, and people ask me, do I do a lot of washes? I'm like, no, I don't. It's like you got two trains of thought here. You either reduce, either your mite loads are high and you're trying to push them down, or your mite loads are within range, but you want to maintain that range, or keep it as low as possible throughout the whole year. And if I wash a 1 or a 2, I'm still going to treat. So why waste the time washing mites?
Yeah. The only reason I did it, because, trying something different, I wanted to see where I stand at with it. But
yeah, you're talking about as far as the way the application or whatever.
Yeah, usually I just use Apivor, and I don't even wash mice. I just put Apivor in all the hives. But I wanted to break from it this year because everybody's talking about the mite resistance if you use it all the time. So I was going to try the pads and do some Apivor when it cools off a little bit.
Yeah, and your weather conditions are even worse than mine when it comes to heat and humidity. And I think another thing is you don't really have a winter. It's like Lee and you guys talk about, what is it, 2 weeks out of the year, maybe?
2 to 3 weeks of some freezing weather, and that's about it. No, and I say freezing, that's just in the 30s.
In the 30s, right.
We
and the rest of the time you're telling me it's 50s or 60s or something like that?
Yeah,
maybe or 70s.
Average winter is like 67 degrees, something like that. So if we get down into the teens, it's because there was an Arctic blast that came out of Canada and it made it all the way to the Gulf, and it only stays here for a day and a half, and then it's back up into the regular temperatures again. I mean, we get some weeks that will stay in the 30s for a little while, but not very much. 50s and 60s.
50s and 60s.
Yeah, that's a normal winter.
50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be treating my hives through the winter time, where I would be doing, you're not really broodless hardly at all, probably. You probably you got 3 or 4 frames of brood. So oxalic acid, I mean, to me, that's a quick knockdown. but that's not really a good option for you all. I would say ApriGuard and Formic Pro in the wintertime are your best options. And people, they get all, you got to remember what different things do. Formic Pro is a brood treatment. It's not really killing the mites on the thoracic mites that are on the bees. They are, but that's not what it goes. I always kept looking, why are you using that when they're darn half the hive is out the front door hanging on the step?
Yeah.
Well, it's because 80% of your mites are under your cappings. And Formic, if you put the 2 strips on there, will penetrate them cappings and kill them mites. And
but it also kills brood too, don't it?
it can, but if you're at 60 or 70 degrees, let's say if you're at 70 degrees in the middle of the winter sometime, I don't know what that would be, February for you, or whether that's October for you, or whenever that is, shoot, that's like, you're not going to have any detrimental problems whatsoever as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You can put, if it's a 10 frame hive, I'd put the 2 strips over top of the brood. That's a 2-week treatment right there. And do that. And then throughout, depending on what the temp, if it's around 70 degrees again, I'd be using ApriGuard. And that's an easy treatment. Put your card on there. I have not done it myself because of heat, because it's in the 90s here. And it's like, I'm listening to Bob Benny, what he said in 23 on that last video. He said if it's 95 or above, don't even think about putting that stuff on there. Formic Pro, if it's 85 or above, don't even think about using that. You don't, you don't use any of that kind of stuff in the summertime for you. You need to be going through the wintertime, because you don't really have a winter. You have a fall. Your winter is like fall for us up here. And if you're in the 70s, 65, like let's say in the 70s, 70, 75 degrees, man, that's golden temperature for that. You can put your 50 grams of ApriGuard on there if it's a double deep. That was one thing I did listen to Bob say. It was a double deep. He did 50 grams if it was in weather conditions. Right. If it was a single deep, he would only use, I'll say 25 to 30 on that. And do it that way. If it was pushing, it was going to be in the 90s, let's say, after so many days of being, let's say 85, he said I would put 25 grams on per week, which was like 4 weeks in a row and stuff like that. But for what you guys doing, if you're down in there and I don't know, October, November, and it's 65, 70 degrees, that's when I'd be doing my mite treatments, getting them through the winter and all that. And
well, that's the plan. That's what I'm gonna, as soon as it cools off, I'm gonna get me a bucket of that ApriGuard. I'm gonna get a little ApriGuard with the cards on top.
Yeah, get the bucket. You can treat, if you're doing a full dose, you treat with 50 grams and come back in 2 weeks and squirt 50 more on, you're done. And then the Formic Pro double strips on that. In 2 weeks, you're done. Like I say, I use 3 different products. Now, for me, we get down in the 30s a lot, in the wintertime with snow. Well, I'm doing my oxalic acid. We'll get those little highs, and that's when I'll do the acid treatment, the oxalic vapor. And that works for me. Down in where you're at, it might work pretty good in the wintertime, but I don't see it. If you got a lot of brood in there in the summertime, it's a quick knockdown. That's about all it's good for. These people get on this thing of stuck. Well, I'll do it every, 4 days or 5 days for so many weeks. You're just blowing in the wind as far as I'm concerned.
And then it's hard to keep that up because
that's a lot. Well, see, that's like ApriGuard. If I got to do it in, let's say 25 gram doses,
Mhm.
That means I got to do it every week for 4 consecutive weeks. And it's like, I can do it, but it's like, every weekend I got to plan. I got to be out there and I got to make sure I can get through all them hives really quick. And a lot of time, the thing of it is, like my hives, the way they're made up right now, I got 2 medium boxes, which is brood boxes. The top box, the medium box, where it's brood frames, it's full of nectar. So what do I have to do? I've got to put a 1.5 inch spacer between the
Yeah.
middle box and the top box, put the card in there, squirt it, and put the box back on because you want that close to the brood and all that. So that means I got to pull boxes off for 4 consecutive weeks in a row. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Where the Apiary, I know it's not the Apiary is losing its potency. Where I did Formic Pro 2 years ago. I did Formic Pro. It was a cool July. Formic Pro for 2 weeks. Then it got hot. I did Apiary, and then I did an oxalic acid vapor treatment. I'll say late October, 1st of November, and I had one, and then all those hives down through there had a pretty significant mite drop underneath the chloroplast board that I scrape off clean before I do that job. Then I go back three days later to see what kind of a mite drop. It gives me an idea of what the infestation is.
Do you
And
have
Hmm?
on your oxalic acid? What kind of treatment device do you use? You use the one with the measuring thing, or do you
Yeah.
still use the blue cup?
When I bought mine, I bought a ProVap because that's all there was out there. Laura Bees was not in existence. Laura Bees came out with that measuring thing. Well, ProVap came out with a doser. So I bought the doser. I got a new cap that's got a tapered hole in there. You got a doser with a tapered hole. I got it measured up and I tested it and measured the gram. I got a scale that will measure grams to see how many grams that thing was putting out. And I got it set for my dosage. And
What I was going to ask you, I got the Larabis. I got both. I got 2 of them. One is the one with the blue cups, and the other one is the new one with the plunger.
yeah.
Well, that plunger says 4 grams on it. That's the max you can get. Well, on my old one, I was always filling up that blue cup and then putting a snow cone on top with the little scooper they give, and then I would turn that. That 4 gram. I took that 4 gram measuring dose and pumped it in that blue cone and that blue cup. It didn't even come to the top.
Yeah.
So it's like that.
That's one downside I see of that because it's got notches the way I see it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or is it a screw thing?
Yeah.
And is it a screw that you can keep raising it up higher?
It's a screw. It's a screw, Charlie. I got one of them.
It's a screw, but the max is 4 grams.
Yeah.
When you got it screwed all the way up, the max is 4 grams. But that blue cup, you getting almost 8 grams of. If you put a little cone on top of it, you fill up the cup flat and you turn your little scoop upside down and make like a snow cone on top of it. That must be like almost 8 grams of dosage right there. And I didn't realize that because I was filling up that blue cup like I did in the past. So I had one of the machines working on some of the hives, and then I had the other machine working on some, and I noticed that the smoke, the vapor coming out of the hives, well, the one with the blue cup, man, that thing was smoking its butt off coming out of there. And the one with the
let's just say on mine, I can just keep screwing that up a little higher and a little higher.
You see that Larabis, it maxes out, it bottoms out at 4 grams.
Well, mine don't bottom out at 4.
So I'm there like, I'm wondering if, I need to keep track of that. Like, and the double dose that I'm doing on the other one, does it actually do better or what,
Well, I don't think you're going to, the first thing is like when I'm doing oxalic acid vapor. Number one, I have my chloroplast underneath my screen bottom board, and I have little wedges I made where I put the wedges in and it holds that thing up tight. And then I bought, you go and get yourself some 1.5-inch styrofoam insulation. I happen to find some remnants from like a construction site,
Yeah.
and I'll make a 1.5-inch by 2-inch wide strip, and I'll make that strip just a hair bit wider than what the bottom board, because usually you got a 3/4-inch board coming up on the front landing board. That way you can push that down in there and it'll hold, because them bees will push it out of there because they're that strong. And I push it up tight. So when I get ready to blow that stuff in there, that hive is tight, and there might be a wisp of it coming out here or there a little bit, but you're not going to see too much. You're going to be just a little wispy of smoke coming out of there, and the rest of it inside that hive. And I'll say that, like you say, 4 to 6 grams, something like that.
Yeah. The Larabis, I don't know if yours does that too, but if I don't clean it out with some kind of mineral water or something like that after, it gets a buildup in there. And when you put your oxalic acid, it don't vaporize it right away. It has to take a while. Then it'll start vaporizing.
Well, after every use, when I get done, I wash my unit out. It's a little bit easier to wash out than what I guess Larabis is. I'm not real sure.
Well, I just gotta pour some distilled water in it and cap it and let it blow it out.
Yeah, I just go to the faucet and start running water through it,
Oh, okay.
and well water through it, and it goes out the pipe and all that. And originally it came, like you said, well, you got the blue cups. I had those white ceramic cups, and like you say, you make a nice heaping helping. I had that little I think it was a 1/2-inch copper pipe cap that had a little handle to it. The guy made years ago, and I was like, all right, just keep dipping it until you get a nice rounded up amount. And that's what I'd blow in there, and the bees don't have a problem with it and all that. And if you're doing double doses, I don't see where you're going to have much of a problem.
Yeah.
Bill,
Huh?
don't tell the boys at the EPA. Let's just keep it between the three of us. That's a little bit of an overdose.
Yeah, well, whatever, But do what you need to do.
Yeah, that's what I say.
But I would be doing ApriGuard and Formic Pro in the wintertime when it's 70 degrees, whatever month that is for you. Or, I mean, spread it across, spread that out.
Yeah.
Throughout the winter. And all that, do some.
North Homestead, there's got a little question. I was on North Homestead. It'd be a guesstimate on my part, but I'd say 1 gram would be just about equivalent to a big teaspoonful. I may be wrong. I never measured it that way.
Yeah, Matt, you got a wand.
At least there's 2/10 of a teaspoon to 1 gram.
You got a wand. I had a wand too when I first started. I had 2 hives. I would fill that wand all the way up and slip her in. Matter of fact, if I filled it up too much, the oxalic acid would get knocked off by the entrance of the beehive. It would get knocked off the top when I'd slide it in.
I had a wand, but I can't remember how I put that in there. I'll tell you, Matt, of course, it'd be expensive to buy. You could buy them new oxy tablets, those pills, and put so many of those pills in there. But like you say, then you're spending a lot more money. I just go in there and like I say, I had a guy. I first bought my wand. It was homemade out of Georgia from some guy, and nice. It was a nice build, heavy duty, and he took a 1/2-inch copper pipe end cap. I think it was 1/2-inch, and he put that wire they use to kind of like nail up. It's copper wire, I think that they would hold the pipes up in a like a joist or whatever where they used to nail it in. Anyway, he made a little loop and they soldered that as the handle. And I still use that darn thing. Well, I did up till when I got this doser. And I just go in there and scoop up. And I say take your wand and give it a nice heaping helping and go that route and all that stuff. But
no matter what you do, you're still gonna have all them ones. Best thing to do is treat your bees and keep it to yourself. Because you're gonna have all them one. If you're gonna put it on YouTube in a video or something, you're gonna get some comments from some I don't know how to say it.
everybody's got their own ways of doing stuff. You know? Yeah, Norman. I tell you, is it a big expense? Not really. I don't think the hive lifter is all that. I mean, it's not cheap at all, but I've had lower back issues for years and years and years dealing with lumber and everything. It's like you want to do it by hand or get a forklift, raising that 6x6 or 4x4. And it's like one guy come in here, they'll get some lumber, and they're going to get it up off the ground, which is laying on a 4x4, and you're going to pitch it up into a pickup truck. It's like, just wait a minute. Let me get the forklift, raise it up where it's waist high, you're not bending over, and slide it in the pickup truck. And that's kind of like the hive lifter. You can go up there, you pop the box, hook the hive lifter to it, use it like a lever, push down on it, raises the box up, pull it out of the way, do your work, put it back on, and it's like totally effortless, effortlessly lifting all those boxes.
The B2, B3.
I got the B3 hydraulic piston.
The bigger one?
I got the biggest one they make.
Okay. Because I seen
I got the B3. Mike Barry's got the B2. The B2, I think it's got those square piece of tubing, and I think there's screws in there that the electric motor turns the screw and it kind of raises it up that way. Mine has an electric motor that runs a little hydraulic pump, but you don't really have, once you set it up to the height, you raise it up to where you hook into the handholds. And if you'll notice on the video, my back little wheels are up. It's like the lifter is, the arms are straight out, and the back window or the back wheels are up in the air. So when you're ready to lift that thing, you don't raise it with the hydraulics. You just push down on it, and it's a teeter-totter effect. It's a lever, and it raises it up. And then when you push down, it throws the weight to those back wheels. You just back it up.
Now you're picking up from front to back, right? Like the back of the hive.
I can pick up from the back or the front, but all the time I'm picking up from the back.
Now, will they pick up the hive from the side?
I can if I wanted to. You could those arms adjust out.
How does that?
Now, if you have an 8-framer, I don't think I can pick up an 8-frame. Mine, I got them tight to the frame, and it'll pick it. It's just right for picking up a 10-frame wide box. So if you're doing 8 frames, you'd have to come to the side and adjust it that way, I think.
Okay. Because
unless you get,
I've seen a picture of one. Like when you're picking up from the front, your tires are actually on the side of the hive, right?
No, mine are the difference between mine and Joey's kind of like a hand truck, and he can only pick up from the back. Mine's kind of like a front end loader. It has some reach to it. And if I got like a 3-inch bottom board, where the landing board is, it'll reach on out past that and grab those handholds easy, no problem.
Okay. Well, because the only thing I was
worried about, you got to have room. Let's say 10 feet behind. If you go take a ruler and from the back of the hive back, you got to have at least, I'll say 10 feet.
Okay.
in order to raise it up and then back it up 3 or 4 feet.
Joey,
You know.
yours don't adjust to like pick up the side of a hive.
Uh, you talking about the long way?
Yeah,
Go wider? Yeah, it'll go wider, but I've never tried it.
because
I'd
I'm
have
just
to
worried
take it and
about
see.
the way I got my hives positioned in my apiary. Like, I could get the one like Charlie, but I'd have to pick up from the sides.
Yeah.
Not from the front and back because I'm too close.
You have to remind me. I'll check that tomorrow and see.
Well, I mean, that's another thing is how tight is your apiary? You know, is it like mine is? It's number one, it's flat, and number two, I've got lots like where you see my hives behind me right now. That's a lot of space behind there. I got plenty of space.
Yeah,
Probably-
yours are all in a line. See, mine are in rows, and
Yeah,
they're
but
kinda
you got one row and then a next row and then a next row behind that.
yeah.
I think the one like Joey's got might be a better option.
Yeah. See, if I
But
had
you got
one like
8-frame hives.
if I had one like
Uh,
Joey, I can get to it from the back or the front, but not with yours. That's why if I would get one like yours, I'd have to get it only from the side.
I get
Yeah.
tickled with mine. I'll hook it up and put a little tension on it, and I'll walk around or reach to get my hive tool, and it'll bust the boxes loose.
Really?
Now, I didn't look real
That's
good. Does it lean back on 2 other wheels or what?
Mine?
Yeah.
No. Mine will lean back, but when you got it hooking up to the hive and pick it up, it's not on the wheels, it's on the bar.
Okay.
And once you pick the box up, you can lean it back on the wheels.
Okay,
And
so
it'll sit there.
it stables from the wheels to the front bar.
Yep.
Like where Charlie stables from the wheels to the back wheels after you pick up the
Yeah.
hive. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, his is like a hand truck where you have to get tight to that hive with the bar that goes up and down with the pulley. And then them things grab into it. And then when you rear back, if you watch some of his videos, the bar is sitting on the ground and that's the pivot point. And it'll pivot back towards him and it pivots back onto those wheels. And then you can pull it back it's like having a hand truck with a filing cabinet on it. You can pull it back like that, and then you can back it up. And I think, doesn't it, Joey?
Yeah.
It just sits there on them wheels as long
Right.
as they're not too high up in the air.
You can pull it once you pick it up, you can just pull it back and it'll sit there. And if it feels a little, you can feel it, you can tell if it needs to go up or down. You can
Little
find
top
that center of gravity.
Now what kind of
You
lift
walk
does
away
yours
from it.
what kind of lift does yours have? How does it lift up? Like Charlie's is a piston. What does yours do?
His is more of a winch, isn't it?
Mine's on a little winch. Got a little winch on it. Winch and
okay.
a rope.
Yeah.
It's about as
Look
basic as
look at my last hive. You can that where I do that second hive. I thought like I said, I learned that day, this past Saturday, you go over, break the top box loose, make sure the top frames and the bottom frames are not glued together, then hook your hive up to it on mine. And it's easier doing it that way. And, where I think with Joey's the way it's constructed, it's going straight up. So you can put tension on it and then pry it, and I think it pops it apart, doesn't it, Joey? It'll kind of pop that box.
it will. If it's not real glued down real good, it'll pop it loose.
Yeah. Now with mine, mine's a teeter-totter like that. And the teeter-totter part here is those wheels in the front. Because it's the front, this hand here would be the front bars going around the hive. And when I raise it with a hydraulic cylinder, it raises the back wheels up off the ground, and you kind of get the bar that's connected to the hive is flat. It's a flat plane. And then let's say I busted the hive apart. I got it set at a flat plane. Well, then all I have to do is push down on the handles and the wheels of the teeter-totter point and it pivot point, and it'll pop that hive right up. And then I just back it up and it sits down on them back wheels.
Okay.
And all that. And then after that, I don't really have to make that cylinder go up and down anymore. I've got that arch or that pivot point set. I can go to the next hive and just raise the handles up, tip it down to where it makes those ears flop back, go down to where it's below the handle holes, and then they'll flop in, and then you'll grab those handles again. And then it's pretty much at the right level angle again. And all. It's a different style of machine. Now I can take mine, go around to the front of the hive and pick up from the front of the hive too. That's what I did. The first thing I did with this unit is I strapped, it's like, let's see, the hive, that purple hive right there and that white hive right there. If you look at that, let's see, that hive stand is brand new. And the hive stand was rotten. And we're talking late February. I went out there, I ratchet strapped that hive together so it wouldn't fall apart. I screened the front off, and I picked those two hives up off the front, from the front, brought them out into the grass area. The purple hive, I had to put a medium box on because you couldn't disengage the machine. It wouldn't go low enough. So I put the hive up on that medium box, and then I went over and grabbed the white hive, left it on the machine because I didn't need to take it off. Pulled that hive stand out of there, put the new one in, leveled it all up, went over there, put the darn hives back on all by myself. You're talking 300 pounds when you're pulling a hive like that. 250, 300 pounds easy. Went out far down. Of course, it's close to March, so it might be a little bit lighter than that. It might, be, let's just say 200 pounds. That's a lot of weight. You better have two people if you don't have a hive lifter. Why? See, that's the main. That was back to the nukes, the same situation. I can do it myself when I want to do it, when it's convenient for me. And it's the same thing with, I got to looking at the honey hives. I can harvest when I want to harvest. I can work my hives when I need to work my hives. I don't have to depend on anybody. Now, I do have a fella right up the road from me, and he's really good at it. He'll say, hey, are you ready to pull honey? Because he wants to use my extraction equipment. And I'm like, sure, come on over. Let's pull 20 boxes of honey. We do it in like three different pools. And it works out good for him. It works good for me.
How much does he charge for shipping?
I think it was $250 for mine.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Comes in a crate. It's knocked down, except for the main frame. You can look at my
I see you
unboxing. What was nice about it was he kept all the bolts where they were supposed to go. There was no guess. I mean, you got a sheet of paper there that you kind of follow. His English.
So you didn't have a bag of bolts and nuts and
no.
Yeah.
His nuts are those what do you call them? Self-locking nuts.
Yeah, the thread lock.
The ones with the stuff in them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had a crossbar there, let's say it wasn't on the main frame, the crossbar that was going to be bolted to the main frame had the bolts in it with the nuts. Oh, okay. You just picked it up. All right, this is the next part that goes on this part here. And then, or he had parts where the frames were and the bolts were in the frame. These were the ones that go here, and it was, you did have instructions. Some of the instructions weren't, because of an English barrier there, wasn't just quite right, but it was good enough. And then the only thing that I did was I told him I wanted a wide stance on my wheel. That's what James McNally told me to get. I forget what it was now, the overall width. I'll say 2 feet wide.
Mm-hmm.
And you have an axle. He gave you a piece of plastic pipe is what it was for the spacers. And then you had the wheel, and then, you know, you got a cotter pin. Well, I like to have a flat washer against the wheel hub and then the cotter pin. So then that way the cotter pin rubs against that flat washer.
Yeah.
And it needed a little bit more taken off of one of those. I took both of those plastic things and I took it out here to a bandsaw, and I made a little guide and I skimmed it, you know, maybe 1/8 of an inch, if that. And I skimmed it off. So I put them on there, put the wheels on there. Then I put those, you know, thick washers on there because they were about, I don't know, what are they, 1.5 inches wide, I guess. And put the cotter pin in there and it works great. That's the only add-on to what I did to his machine and all
Well, I guess
that.
if I talk to him,
Well, you can. I emailed him and I said, "Hey, this is, you know," and you know, James and Brad are my friends, and you know, I said, "This is what I would like to get," and I have you know, tell him that I'm doing 10 frame. I'm going to grab the boxes this way. You know, does it? You know, and then he'll and I mean, within hours. I mean, he emailed me back within an hour almost.
yeah, because I want to ask him about if I can get it to where it can pick up 8 frame and 10 frame.
That's
because
he'll make. I think he custom makes all that kind of stuff.
yeah, because I don't want to get rid of my 8 frame. I like them too much.
Well, he might have to. He, you know, he can tell you what he can do for you on that.
Okay.
And everything. And
I
all
think
that
on the 8, all you'd have to do that bar that, if on mine, the bar that it slides in, he'd have to shorten that just a little bit where it'd close up a little more on the 8.
Okay.
See, the way he's got it on mine, it's got the you know, the arms that go up and down. There's a bar going across, which is square, and then the arms that have the flappers on it like that to hit into the handholds, they fit over top of that square bar, and there's a wing nut. And I have to make sure that those arms are all the way to the frame and tighten down. One of them, there's one off to the left hand side. It always kind of wants to slip away a little bit, you know. And occasionally, I hear now last weekend I must have it tight enough where I don't have no problem with it. Some people talked about drilling a hole and putting a big cotter pin in, you know, a pin that's got a you know, a hook thing around it and all that, which I've never had to. And I just put it in there, tighten those wing nuts up. I make sure when I look, yep, they're both up next to the frame. I know everything's set perfectly for the size hives I got. Go in there and pick it on up, and I'm done. But he, like you say, Joey said, you might have to make some kind of an adjustment there to maybe on the arms that come around. Maybe they need to go out and in some towards the center of the machine, so you can grab the 8, and then you might have to spread them to grab 10s.
You know those little screws, the little wing screws you're talking about that hold the arms on? Well, on the left, mine tightens up on the front side of that square tubing. It's cross tubing.
Yeah.
So when you tighten up on it, it makes that arm lift up just to get my hand in the camera. When you tighten it up, it lifts up just a little bit. Well, on the other side, it's on the opposite side. So it makes it push down.
Really?
So it had my arms kind of out of whack a little bit, kind of just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I drilled a hole in front of it where it would do both of them up. That's really the only thing I've had to do.
So is the wing nuts in the top, or are they on the sides?
They're on the top.
Or on, yeah, that's the way mine are, on the top.
Yeah, they're on the top.
Both of them are on the same. Both of them are on the top where you screw them in that way. But you're saying when you screw them down, they're kind of going like this.
Yeah, one was in the front side of the square tubing, and on the other side, it was on the back of the top. So it was pushing the opposite direction.
Yeah,
So
they
I
would
put
need to be in the center, huh?
hole
So it
where they
wasn't
opened
it wasn't
up.
centered in the tubing then.
Yeah, mine wasn't centered, and
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just a mistake and drilled in the wrong place or what, but I fixed
Mm.
that.
I don't know.
Um,
I haven't had any problems with mine. I haven't even charged mine. Mine still is at 12, whatever 12 represents, 12
Yeah.
volts or whatever.
Well, you got that solar panel on it too, don't you?
Yeah, but I have hooked it up in the past where you're supposed to turn it on and then hook the wire into it and the solar panel. I have seen it where it does work some. And it does come with a hard where you plug it into the wall and charge it up and all. And all
So
that.
you can monitor how much it's charged, like so you know.
Yeah, it shows it on there. It's got a little LED light that has 12.3, 12.8, whatever.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff.
How long did you have to wait to get it before when you ordered it?
About 3 years.
Now it was about 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks.
Took it
Yeah,
3
mine-
years to decide.
I got mine in about 2.5, 3 weeks.
It was
Okay.
I think it was about 3 weeks. Now I ordered it in the wintertime when things are not too busy.
That's when I was planning on getting mine this winter. I want it for next year.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's just like I had a guy here that he had a hive. Called him up. The guy got a phone call. The bear attacked the one hive. And I wasn't able to get there until tomorrow evening. And then he's already gave it away to somebody else. But my friend that helps me, I was going to, we were going to give it to him. I was going to go with he had 3 mediums. I'm like, perfect. Put the ratchet strap around it, block up the entrance with some 1/8" hardware cloth. I go up there and it's kind of like right off the side of the house, what it sounded like to me. And I know I looked at it, Google, it's pretty flat. Go up there and just pick that whole hive up. And then my friend had a grass cutting trailer with a great type, gate, where I got to walk that thing right up in there.
Mhm.
It's like, it's effortless when it comes to lifting all that weight and everything.
I have some of my older boxes that when we used to build them out where I worked, I'd buy the material and Votech would build them for me. And the handles on all your manufactured boxes, they're pretty wide, plenty of room to put your hands in and everything. But the first couple of years they built for me, they're only like 3 or 4 inches. And sometimes when I go to pick one of those up, I had to just keep kind of reaching and grab it to get it in there because it just barely gets to that hole, that handle.
Does it matter how thick the hole is?
Not really.
Okay. Just matters how long from front to back the hole is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
On mine.
I mean, the catching mechanism is just like if you watch Ian Stepper's, where them little flappy arms
It's
going
the same
in.
thing.
It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
The only thing is I found it's like that white hive. It's right. That one right there. Right there. It's right at the ground level goes like this and then it dips off. And one wheel's kind of over here and one wheel's up on the hill, you might say. And the machine is kind of like this. It goes in there like that. Not much, just it's a little bit off. That's where you might have to use the hydraulics to kind of like bring up the other side a little bit. Actually, I think on that one there in particular, it actually grabs both handholds at the same time. But the box doesn't come up when I push down on it. It doesn't come up level. It kind of comes up on an angle like that. It still works. No problem.
Now yours will reach higher than the B2, right?
I think so. Yeah. The B3. I mean, Joe's was the B1, right?
Yeah.
In it. Isn't that what your model number is?
Yeah.
Mike
His is
Berry has the B2, and he said something about his will only reach so many deeps up, where he said if he had the bigger one, it would reach the last little bit. I forgot.
I guess I don't know.
4 foot or something like that. He said
Yeah,
48.
it's about 4 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
looked at it.
could take, let's say I could pull 3 mediums off, turn it around with my pickup trucks right there and put it right up on the back of the bed.
His
Well,
is like 41 and a half inches, and yours is like 48 tall.
Yeah.
When it's all the way up.
But if you're stacked that high, it really doesn't matter. You can just grab the one under that. I mean, and take
Yeah.
them both down and then separate them.
Well, he was
Oh,
trying, like,
good.
he was taking his top boxes off, and
Yeah.
they were real high. He had put his fume boards up there, and he was just taking the top box off, and he had to kind of like lift up on the machine to get it to grab that last little bit.
Yeah, I think he's up on the rails like I am, if I remember right. I think he's
Yeah,
on
he
2
is.
by 6
Well, see, that was another thing that I did for myself over the years is that I had everything was, let's say, I had 5.5 inch boards, which I still have. But then I had, what would you say, 12-inch cinder blocks underneath
Mhm.
and whatever they are. So you're up like 16 inches, and then the hives above that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd have to get up on the rails when I'm doing it by hand and put a super up like that. And this is BS, you know. So then when I moved things down here, I went and got those 3.5-inch cat blocks that are solid blocks.
Mhm.
And I dropped my hives down at least 8 or 9 inches.
Well, mine are
Low.
sitting on cinder blocks, but they're on the ground. They're not no railing. They're like laying flat on the ground, not tall.
That's
I got
about
2
8 inches, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. So
They're
I like it
sitting up.
'cause I can sit down on a crate right next to them, and when I'm digging through the brood and
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah. But that's what I did with mine. My design of my racks is yes, I could put a hive in between, but the design of my racks, they're 7 feet long, I believe it is. I can put a hive on either end, and then there's workspace in the middle to where before I got the hive lifter, I can put 2 lids upside down,
Mhm.
and I can put my hive boxes on top of them lids and catch my bees. And I'm up off the ground, so I don't have to bend over quite as low. And it's a nice work area. I can put, let's say, a honey super over here on one lid, and then my brood boxes on this other lid. So I keep everything kind of separated. That way the queen doesn't happen to get into my honey supers. Let's say if I'm checking a honey super or checking the brood chamber at the time. But now I still use it. If I'm out there, like when I was putting Apivar on, I had a lid on that rack. I took the middle box and put it on the lid, and then I had the honey super that was on my hive lifter. And then what's nice about that is whether you have 1 box, 2 boxes, those bees are up in that box. They're not being disturbed. The only time you kind of disturb them when you pull the 2 boxes apart.
Mhm.
You back that thing up, they're still in the hive. They don't have they're not all wound up or anything else. And you're working your brood chain. Let's say if you're working the brood boxes, you get your brood work done right quick, put it all back together, bring that hive and set it right back down on there, real gentle like. You don't have half the disturbance of bees
Yeah.
like you do it when you do individual boxes.
Yeah,
I would
'cause-
say this is with no matter which one you get, when you first get it and start trying to operate that thing, you're gonna say, "Oh my goodness, what have I done bought? I can't do anything with this thing." And then before you know it, you just like second nature, you just doing
Yeah.
it.
yeah.
When
I
you
just
get
need it
used
for
to
the
it.
I just need it for the lifting because my production hives are 10 frames, and they're deeps and mediums, and man, my back is just starting to get to me picking up those things.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Norman,
I like to go through because I make up nukes and stuff, so I gotta pull all my honey boxes off and pull all that and go get brood at the bottom. So it's a lot of work pulling off all them damn boxes just to get a frame of brood out.
Norman, what's WTG mean? What's WTG mean? I don't know.
I'm gonna have to
But,
check out here, boys. I'm gonna have
Huh?
to check out. I'm gonna have to check
Yeah,
out.
I'm getting ready to turn off the button here in a little bit. It's 10:30.
I wanted to tell Brad I've got a remote controlled automatic hive lifter.
Oh yeah.
It's not like those guys. I call him Mitch.
Yeah, I watch them videos of them younger guys. They going through a couple of hundred hives a day, standing up, going from box to box to box to box to box. I'm like, dude, where's your crate to sit on?
You know, Bob Bennett, he don't show it a whole lot, but they do a lot of lifting out there in them bee yards. They just
Oh,
don't
yeah.
show that part too much.
Yeah, they do. I mean, he don't have any kind of lifter or nothing for all those hives.
No, they'll grab them daggone boxes of honey and take off toward that truck.
The most they have to move hives is that dolly that they use to grab the pallet.
Yeah.
And he lends it out to that other guy's set.
Mhm.
And other than that, they manhandle all them hives.
Well, you know, like the last couple of videos where they're packing honey supers onto that truck, and they're talking a couple hundred of them on there. It looks like to me, and I'm like, that's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'd be like Ian there. At his level, I'd be having myself an easy loader.
Yeah,
Or something. An easy loader would work for him because he can pretty much drive up to all his yards.
Yeah, I saw noticed that too, Joey. I'd be watching his videos. I'm not like, they always show them going into the hives, but when do they load them up and how do they load them up? And then they let it slip one video about that the hive mover there. He says, this is the only piece of equipment I got to move hives, and he was lending it to Seth. And they're like, dang, I didn't realize he didn't have a lifter on his truck.
Now they do have. He does have a skid steer. You know,
Yeah,
they're moving a whole apiary. They'll move. He has a Hummer-bee or something.
Well, that's when he was moving his bees from place to place.
Mhm.
I think he used that a lot, but I don't think he uses that anymore in them yards because he's downsizing a lot compared to what he was.
Well, he's 70 years old.
Yeah, and I think he's more getting into that store because he's kind of like going into a full business of being a bee supplier. You know, he used to just sell honey and knickknacks in his store. Now he's full blown, you know, like
He's a Man Lake dealer.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
They make a lot of that stuff.
let's
on
face it,
hives.
you know, look
Over there.
He
Some of his yards are
packs a
pretty
lot of
deep.
honey for people too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look at the videos where he's unloading a tractor and you know,
Yeah.
he said there he spent $1 million+ in buying honey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
$1
said-
million. You know,
Yeah,
he's
he
talking about 20, 30 tractor and trailer loads.
Yeah, he said one time he had $1 million or so stacked in the warehouse.
Yeah. He's a honey packer is what he is. He's a packer.
Yeah.
He's doing the bees, I think, just for fun, you know, in a way.
Well, and he goes after that sourwood too for that special sale.
Yeah,
and
he's got certain things he wants to do with these bees.
yeah.
And I think, what was it? He had 4,000 hives or something like that. And he's been cutting back to where he's about 2,000 hives right now, or something like that, 1,800.
That's still a lot of hives.
Oh, yeah.
That's another
You
thing.
gotta-
He never really shows harvesting the honey. You know, like in his place, like, you know, like
Yeah, there's some videos out there of that, I think.
yeah.
So,
But he's got a good operation.
mhm.
But like you said, he's been in it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I finally got through with all my little harvest yesterday. Bottled or bucketed the last little bit yesterday.
I still got a lot on the hives, but I'm done made up my mind. I'm gonna go ahead and start because I made up a lot of new hives this year with new queens, and they're all singles. I'm gonna go ahead and spread out my honey to my singles and make sure to go through double deeps.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That way I don't have to do too much
I
feeding.
did something yesterday that I don't normally do either. It was the day before yesterday. Nope, that was yesterday. I went and caught a swarm.
Yeah, that's late for a swarm.
Yeah, the prison where I used to work, they called, said they had one on one of the yards. And I asked him, I said, can you reach it from the ground? He said, yeah. I was talking to the warden. I should have knew better. And I got there. I had to they brought me a ladder. I had to get on a ladder. It was about 10 foot high. But I just took my vacuum and vacuumed them up and left. I normally, if somebody would have called, I'd have told them, no, I don't want it. But I told him I'd come get that one to get it out of their way because it was right by one of the inmate basketball courts, and he knew good and well if it stayed there, somebody's going to be throwing a basketball at it. Get them all stirred up.
Well, it's 20 minutes 11, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the chat for tonight. And thanks everybody for stopping by. And you guys don't need to run off. You don't. And everybody in the chat, we'll see you next Friday. Same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll catch you all later, folks.
Good night.